Hi everyone. As we approach the end of 2022, I'd like to thank each of you for your hard work and focus on our mission during this past year. I'm standing on our barge Holland, which Bollinger Shipyards delivered a year ago. Since then, she's been commissioned and our team trained on her operations at the 3 locations where she will berth during her service life: Groton, Newport News, and right here in Quonset Point. This 400-foot barge will begin transporting large Columbia modules to Groton for assembly next year. Thank you to the facilities and engineering teams who worked together to make this happen. This is our South Yard Assembly building. Before we walk through, I want to point out our coats and pre-commissioning unit crew facility for Columbia. The structural steel is complete and interior improvements are underway. And further north in the shipyard, the first occupants have just moved into our new nuclear support building. The South Yard Assembly building is an amazing engineering effort. While many of us see the 200,000 square foot building, it's what the building is standing on that is the true engineering marvel. I'm walking on what used to be the Thames River. We drove 505 concrete piles into the granite of the riverbed before we began to erect the building's structural steel. Since then, the building's skin was put in place, and today we're completing the outfitting, including all of the systems and components that bring a building to life. We're securing our temporary certificate of occupancy and will soon install the tooling and equipment you need to build the world's best submarines, starting with Columbia and following on with new classes of submarines for decades to come. This is the Advanced Manufacturing Project building at our Quonset Point facility, where we'll build missile tubes critical to the success and effectiveness of Columbia, Virginia, and our future submarine programs. We broke ground on this 100,000 square foot facility in 2021, and construction continued during 2022. We'll receive our certificate of occupancy in January and have already started outfitting the building. The construction milestones achieved over the last several years by our facilities teams at Quonset Point and here in Groton are the culmination of 15 years of hard work and reflect the nearly $2 billion invested by General Dynamics so we can deliver 1 Columbia-class submarine and 2 Virginia-class submarines a year for the decades ahead. It's now our job to execute and deliver submarines faster than ever before. Every one of us, from the engineers, designers, and planners in New London and in our production locations, to our finance, HR, and legal teams, to our supply chain and quality teams, to the men and women in operations, has an important role to play. I'm seeing a lot of teamwork as we work together to knock down obstacles and focus on our mission, as we've done for nearly 124 years. Now let's look at a few examples of what you achieved this year. In 2022, Electric Boat continued making progress in bringing Columbia, the newest class of ballistic missile submarines, to our Navy customer and our nation. At 560 feet long, with a displacement of nearly 21,000 tons, Columbia-class submarines will be the largest ever built by the United States. Its nuclear reactor will power the ship over its entire operating life without the need to refuel, making the ship more cost-effective to operate and maximizing its availability to perform its vital mission. Lead Ship District of Columbia is more than 25% complete. This progress comes from empowered teams working across our organization toward a common goal. In 2022, we saw increased collaboration between our engineering and planning organizations who worked together to streamline processes, tools, and training. The result was a doubling of work instruction output on the Columbia program. Our engineers, with help from our IPDE team, took on the challenge of Columbia design change to support planning's ability to complete work instructions and support our tradesmen and women. This is helping to increase Columbia's construction velocity by knocking down production roadblocks. Our planning team has grown significantly in size, velocity, and ability this year. The team's accomplishments include sustained month-over-month improvement in work instruction completions for both Columbia and VPM. We've also established production readiness functions at Quonset Point and at the Groton Shipyard to ensure our operations teams have what they need to successfully build Columbia. This year, our materials team more than doubled the amount of material available for the Columbia program and delivered major propulsion plant components, the culmination of over a decade of design and development for electric drive propulsion. Quonset Point delivered 2 quad packs for Columbia in 2022, and in the process reduced the time span to assemble a quad pack by almost half. Quonset Point also completed critical work on Columbia pump packages, key structures, and components, while outfitting work began on the first Columbia horizontal modules and decks. Groton received key parts of Columbia's propulsion system, and assembly has begun with completion scheduled for 2026. We made notable progress this year in strategic sourcing, awarding an additional 1.25 million hours of work to the submarine industrial supply base, more than twice the amount awarded in the last 4 years. Our long-term strategic sourcing plan includes 4 million man-hours of outsourced work, 75% of which goes to our strategic sourcing partners to produce early-stage fabricated and manufactured submarine products for the Columbia and Virginia programs. This year, our focus factories have gone from concept to reality. In March, we saw the culmination of almost a decade's worth of work by Electric Boat in support of the Navy's Strategic Weapons System ashore facility in Cape Canaveral, Florida. EB employees from design, engineering, operations, and strategic weapons systems test contributed to retiring a significant portion of risk to the Columbia program by completing validation and verification testing for Columbia's weapons system equipment prior to the start of construction testing. In June, Quonset Point hosted the keel laying ceremony for District of Columbia. Against the backdrop of the first completed quad pack, ship sponsor Eleanor Holmes Norton declared the keel true and fairly laid for the audience of 2,000 employees, families, and guests. While we have much to be proud of in what we've accomplished this year on Columbia, we also know there is no room for delay. Our national defense strategy is depending on us. On the Virginia Seabed Warfare Program, our design and engineering team set a record for delivering arrangements and continues to demonstrate strong performance and technical leadership of the program, including the kickoff of land-based testing of critical new systems. Engineering's analytical research and development team developed new methods in acoustics, hydrodynamics, and shock to extend our leadership in undersea capabilities. The team also completed testing, proving concepts for advanced hull architectures for SSNX are viable and perform as predicted. Quonset Point delivered 9 Virginia-class modules in 2022 and set new records constructing 3 Virginia payload modules, improving cycle time by 60% between each module. This performance demonstrates what we can achieve by working as a team. In February, Electric Boat delivered USS Oregon to the Navy. She was commissioned into the fleet on Memorial Day weekend at Naval Submarine Base, New London. In November, we floated off USS Vermont as she moves closer to completing her PSA. She will be redelivered to the fleet early next year. On December 7th, we celebrated the keel laying for SSN 803, the future USS Arizona. Her name honors the historic battleship and 1,177 souls killed during the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Arizona is the first Virginia-class boat to be equipped with the Virginia Payload Module, a program EB designed and first proposed to the government in 2002. The VPM contains 4 inline, large-diameter payload tubes in a module inserted amidships. It will extend the hull by 84 feet and increase the fixed strike capacity of a Virginia-class submarine by more than 230%. The Los Angeles-class attack submarine USS Hartford docked in the Groton shipyard in November 2021 for its engineered overhaul. Over the course of 2022, the team completed pre-work, what we call the Smart Start, and Electric Boat was awarded the largest repair contract in our history. The project remains on track to a schedule that will redeliver Hartford to the fleet 10 months ahead of schedule. Hartford is an important project for Groton because it sustains our maintenance and modernization capability while we grow the operations team to get ready for the arrival of Columbia modules from Quonset Point and Newport News. In September, historic ship Nautilus returned to the Submarine Force Library and Museum and her mission of education and inspiration. EB's overhaul on our country's first nuclear-powered submarine began in October of 2021, and she undocked in June. It's an honor to maintain this historic submarine built by Electric Boat and commissioned in 1954. In September, we welcomed over 8,500 employees and family members to our Quonset Point facility for a family day with tours and fun, interactive demonstrations for kids. It was a great event, and I enjoyed having the opportunity to meet many of you. It was great to share the pride we feel in the work we do at Electric Boat with our family and friends. We've hired over 3,700 people this year, the most since we've been keeping records. We've reinvented hiring in a post-COVID world. Our HR teams have conducted over 400 hiring events this year. We've expanded our boat programs for women, veterans, and basically everyone to provide more exposure to the trades and shipbuilding to those who haven't traditionally seen themselves as shipbuilders. We're also expanding our reach into the elementary and middle schools to make sure students, guidance counselors, and parents know what we already know. Designing, building, and maintaining our nation's submarines is a rewarding and life-changing career. We're also reaching out to high schools and vocational schools with internships and customized curriculum, so when someone graduates, they're qualified to work at Electric Boat. By now, you know we're getting the word out through ads all over our region, including TV, radio, movie theaters, sports venues, and airports. Employee referrals make up 30% of our new hires, so continue to help by spreading the word to your friends and family. We graduated 59 new apprentices in 2022 and had over 1,200 employees complete our leadership development programs this year. This focus on developing our people is in line with our core values of valuing each other and committing to excellence. It was great to recognize these career milestones in person at last. During COVID, we asked our employees who had reached their 40-year Distinguished Shipbuilder anniversary how they wanted to be recognized, and they overwhelmingly chose to wait to have their traditional celebration dinner. Honoring our distinguished shipbuilders is always a lot of fun, and we made good on our commitment by holding 3 celebrations this year. 2 dinners in June for our 2020 and 2021 recipients, and 1 in October for our 2022 recipients. We hosted a steady stream of visitors this year with more than 120 visits to our facilities from vendors, Navy leadership, members of Congress, including our Connecticut and Rhode Island delegations, and leaders from Washington, such as Chief of Naval Operations Mike Gilday. We also hosted the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, the U.S. Ambassador to Australia, and the First Sea Lord of the United Kingdom. These visits shine the spotlight on your talent, commitment, and dedication to delivering the world's most complicated machines in defense of our nation. Finally, and most importantly, we are seeing year-over-year improvements in safety with reductions in our recordable and lost workday injury rates. Your personal involvement in your own safety and our efforts to be 200% accountable for safety are helping to make EB a safer shipyard than we were just a few years ago. I'm especially pleased that our safety performance is improving while we continue to bring new shipbuilders onto the team. Keep up your focus on safety. It really is making a difference. To deliver the submarines our Navy needs, we're growing at a rate we haven't seen in over 40 years. That provides us tremendous opportunity and challenge. The nation is counting on a strong Electric Boat team to deliver the advantage that is the Virginia-class submarine and to deliver District of Columbia in 2027. In the year ahead, you'll hear me talk about our velocity. Simply put, we need to build submarines faster, and that requires each of us to be better tomorrow than we are today. This year, I've been inspired by the contribution and spirit of our shipbuilders, both new and seasoned. You've seen some great examples of teamwork and a sense of shared mission from across the EB team with contributions from every corner. For me, there is nothing more rewarding than being part of something as important as what we do together every day. And I know I'm not alone. Please be proud of all we have accomplished this year. Thank you for your ideas, your enthusiasm, and your dedication to the critical work we do for our nation. From my family to yours, I wish you a peaceful and joyous holiday season.